Thank you everyone for voting in the semi-finals of the Game of the Year 2020. The polls are now closed. We have 5 finalists and I'm opening the final poll, the runoff for Game of the Year 2020. Do vote. You'll find the poll under the Community tab on the main channel page. You'll find a link down there to it. So it's under the Community tab on the main channel page. In this video, what I'm going to do is recap the 5 final games that you've voted on. And, you can always look at the original videos for the details of this game to make your mind up. And again, you'll find the links to those games down there in the video description and perhaps up there in the I tab as well. I should say that my favourite game of 2020 came last in the semi-finals. There you go, showing that I'm completely out of step with my viewers. I thought the game played in the candidates tournament between Giri and Nepomniachtchi was absolutely superb. Nepo negotiated a very difficult opening. He'd obviously fallen to some preparation, but he successfully came through that, got the better of the middle game and won the most beautiful technical endgame. But hey, you guys know better, and there you go. I'm not going to appeal to the House of Lords. It stands. We have 5 final games, which I'm going to show you right now. So I'm going to show you these in chronological order, the order they were played in 2020. And this was played at the end of January in 2020 and won a prize, a brilliancy prize in the Gibraltar Masters tournament, the Open tournament there. So this is Anna Muzychuk from Ukraine against Ori Kobo. Now, many of you have seen this already, but just a quick recap. White's bishops look pretty nice, but there's certainly no immediate breakthrough. Muzychuk came upon this very interesting manoeuvre with the queen, hitting f5, and this very nice sacrifice, rather unexpected, followed by rook d7. Fantastic move. There's an X-ray that protects the rook. The queen could be taken, but that would lose straight away to this. And to next move. Just very quickly, the game went like this. And now Muzychuk could have gone in for an endgame, but instead she went queen b3. She said, she very kindly messaged in on the comments section and said that this was the most difficult decision because trying to work this out was very, very difficult. But she had to spot this incredible move, h5. I think that's really beautiful, really important Zwischenzug. And if queen h5, then queen f7 is a winning move. It's absolutely beautiful. The game went like this. I'm just going to go through this very quickly. If you want to see the original video, then please do look at it for the details. But I think what was really nice about this was that Muzychuk had to calculate precisely to win this game. And she allowed her king to be driven up the board, but she had appreciated that actually the king was quite safe on d5, and here black resigned. A beautiful game, really, I think quite an unusual concept, the whole idea of the piece sack and this h5 move. So moving on, and now we jump straight from January to August, and this was Dvierny against Shirov. Daniele Dvierny representing Italy, and he's playing Alexei Shirov, who we know very well on this channel, who represents Spain. Of course, originally from, the Soviet Union and then Latvia, but representing Spain. And here, it was a Slav, and it was one of these quite closed positions. But Dvierny has obviously taken a risk by casting queenside, so we have already quite a double-edged position. And here was a very interesting move coming up in a second. The queen came to g3, and this is the start of something slightly wacky. You know, when you're perhaps trying to build an attack on the queen side, it looks unusual to suddenly switch that queen along this diagonal. But it's very clever because it keeps white's pieces kind of occupied. And then he switched back to the queen side. So rook c4, you might say this is a fairly standard kind of exchange sacrifice. Nevertheless, still takes guts to do it. But very soon we have this extraordinary moment where in this position, well, Dvini would very much like to exchange queens, but this move was met by knight e4, giving up the queen. Now this involves such a sharp tactical imagination that, well, Shirov has, of course. Nevertheless, this is a wonderful idea. So here, Dvini played bishop e2. If queen takes g4, let me just show you one variation which is so beautiful. b3. Threatening to bring the rook across. That'll be mate. Okay, this is one possible defense, trying to establish a blockade here. But then black takes. And now an incredible move, knight c5. I have no doubt Shirov would have found this. And after this, well, the threat is to play rook takes bishop and rook a5 mate. And if b3, then bishop f6 is mate. What a picture. That didn't happen, but instead we had a funny echo, because in this position after g4, there was another queen sacrifice on the same square. So there's a beautiful echo here. And in this case, well, Dvini resigned because if rook takes, let me just show you. This one possible position, that is checkmate. So just a dazzling display from Alexei Shirov. That was played in the online Olympiad, so that was a rapid play game, I'm pretty sure. Yes, it was a rapid play game. I think you have to judge whether you think over-the-board games have more merit than rapid play or vice versa. Anyway, we need to give you the full facts. And this next one is Anish Giri against Magnus Carlsen, played at the end of November in the Skilling Open. This was the first online tournament in the Champions Chess Tour organised by the Play Magnus group. And this was just the most beautiful technical endgame played by Magnus Carlsen. I could have picked several of Carlsen's games for the game of the year. I think many of you were suggesting another game against Giri, actually. Played, well, it was this semi-Tarish variation. Anyway, I thought this was more impressive. So, and many of you agreed in the voting. And here, this move, bishop takes. And, you know, to convert this position into a win for black is a remarkable achievement. And the precision needed all the way along is quite remarkable. So these clever bishop moves, bringing the king to e5, this is wonderful. But the thing is, you know, at several moments black could, for example, take on e4, but Carlsen understood that this was not a priority and actually would give white drawing chances. This is a great move, rook d6, instead of taking here. So the idea to switch to b6. And finally, with this clever, sophisticated manoeuvring, Carlsen gets his rook to the second rank. And at this moment, and the bishop comes back to its beautiful spot on e6. Look at those pieces. Absolutely dominating. And after this, that was game over, actually. But again, Carlsen's technique was superb, winning a rook and pawn endgame. It's a great move, rook b6 and then rook a6 coming very soon. And that was basically that. Just a sensational performance by Magnus Carlsen. Okay, next one. So this was Elisa Galliamova against Alina Kashlinskaya, played in the Russian women's super final on the 12th of December, and it featured, well, this typical King's Indian attack position with colours reversed, and Kashlinskaya has brought the knights and the queen over to the king's side, and here, well, Galliamova was tempted to take that knight. Now, this is a known kind of sacrifice, but getting the details right is tricky. And Galliamova thought she had seen a decent defence. f4, which opens up the second rank. And after this, knight f2 gives that knight a square. And, well, you know, key squares are covered here by that knight. So she thought she was defending, but Kashlinskaya succeeded in breaking through. So Galliamova hasn't spotted the danger. She thinks those knights are going to hold the position, and she's just playing the other end of the board. But this is a great idea. Bishop h3, bishop g2, and now the queen sack. Great stuff. Check. And bishop e3, the final move of the game. Absolutely brilliant. So let me just show you one variation. If queen takes, knight g5, check. And the king comes back, check. And that's a rather picturesque mate. There we go. And our final game played in the Russian Super Final on the 16th of December. A late entry from Daniel Dubov against Sergei Karjakin. So it was this, and now b4, an unusual move which Dubov has revived with this game. And this looks like something out of the 19th century. It really does. It's a splendid, romantic, daring, attacking game. And Karjakin here was completely wrong-footed. So here, it's interesting that, you know, Dubov doesn't sort of clean up the position by immediately trying to recapture that pawn. But here he goes. Bishop f6. This is the start of all the fun. Bishop c4. And Karjakin trying to break free. And in this position, yeah, it's still not so clear. But then Dubov found this splendid queen sacrifice. Rook takes, hitting the queen. Queen f7, bishop takes c3. And then nice little shuffle here to get free of that pin. And, well, with the pawn on c7, that was eventually too much for Karjakin, and Dubov won an absolutely splendid game. I should say that was a classical game. And also Kashlinskaya's win over Galliamova was also a classical time control. Again, you have to weigh that up, whether you think that's important. But, you know, I leave that up to you. This is a very subjective selection of games. I think they're all worthy contenders, and I leave it up to you to vote. Once again, please go to the main page, PowerPlayChess channel page, and look under the community tab, and you'll find the poll there. And you'll find links to that in the video description. Please vote. I look forward to seeing who you've gone for in this final selection. Thanks for watching.